Lindsay. Steve Meckley. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with our prayer. Mary Jo, will you pray for us tonight?
Father God, we just thank you so much for your blessings and your love and your salvation. We just pray now, Lord, that you would be with all of us here today, that you'd be with the speakers. Just give them the words to say what you want them to say. Bless this time together. Help us to look to you for guidance and direction. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, and Steve, would you mind doing the pledge for us tonight? Start the pledge. Will you all stand, if you can, for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? You know where the flag is?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right, we have a special treat tonight. We have Joe Renshaw here to sing the national anthem. Yes. All right, will you please stand down? I'm sorry for the national anthem. Yes, thank you.
And the drill is, gentlemen, remove your hats. So I want to put your hand over your heart. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Joe. That was awesome. Okay, so Branch County Revolutionaries, guys. Why did we create it? What is it? What do we do here? In the beginning, every time, we created the Branch County Revolutionaries to have a venue for people to have effective outlets for issues and topics of the day, okay? Anyone is invited, even liberals, okay? They just don't come. But, you know, issues that are important in our community, we weren't seeing being addressed, and we were all angry. So we try to have this meeting to give everybody outlets for that, things to do. So we have a take action checklist. It goes by time, it goes by the issue that you are really, hot about, and different things you can do to actually make an effect in that space. Ranges from making phone calls for a candidate, carrying petitions, and we've collected all that information on those sheets for you. So if you want to take one of those, as well as please sign up at the front if you haven't already. I will email them to you. And then you can click on all the links and go from there. We also have information at the front if you're a volunteer or you want to sign up to be a volunteer for Jonathan's campaign. We have polos for you, and we would love to get you door knocking for us. That is really where we need the assistance right now. We would love your help. Okay? So, every time, who's new? We go through and we give the mic to every single new person because we want to hear your name, where you're from, and the issue or a couple words about why you're here tonight. Okay? It's important that we all get to know each other. We're a community, and we want to know what we're fighting for and what brought each one of us here. Okay? So who's new? You've been here.
They are out.
Yeah? Oh yeah, sorry, I bypassed you guys. Let's do it. Hold it right straight.
Straight.
Sorry.
All right.
Yep, perfect.
I'm Jack Smith. I'm from Quincy. I guess what brings me here is to meet fellow patriots and try to do something better for the country than what we got now.
Thank you. Pass it on.
Hi, I'm Kim Clark. I'm from Quincy. My friends kind of got me into coming tonight in the back.
Yeah.
Work to Kathy Ware, we're from Sturgis, and I'm an industrial contractor, and they need to really get the Lara thing in Lansing straightened out. It's a mess. It's taken 7-8 months to get an electrical plan review and stuff. These people really don't care. They won't hire new people. It's a mess. The whole state is.
I'm Donna Green, and I'm just here to help support.
I'm Julie Stepien. I'm here to see what we can do about fixing the election in 2020.
Hi, I'm Cherith Nottingham. I'm from Coldwater and known by many of you as Abe Lincoln Lake. I'm Deb Cartwright and I'm from Quincy, and I'm very concerned about our
Hi, I'm Cindy King. I'm from Quincy, formerly from Bronson, and we're just here to support our good friends.
I'm her husband, Bill.
Hi, I'm Randy Guppy from Howard City. I'm here because we need a new governor. And I'm here with Ryan Kelly. And you guys are going to hear their next governor.
I'm Mark Howley, the chair of Cass County, and I want to come out and meet some of our new district people, and support my two favorite candidates. Stay.
I'm Mary Holly, delegate from Jefferson Township, and my husband. And yes, here to support the candidates.
Edwardsburg, Jefferson Township, and we're here to support Jonathan.
I'm Rose Kelsheimer from Cass County, Vice Chair, also Treasurer of the 6th District, and I'm here to support our candidates.
My name is Jeffrey Burke. I live in Minden Township in St. Joe County. I'm here because I'm a revolutionary.
I'm Roger Boyer. I'm a delegate from Cass County with these folks over here. This is my wife Susan, and we're here to support the candidates.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Weber. I am
delegate now, and I came because I was at Cass County meeting last night, and I am a Ryan Kelly groupie. So I'm my sister. She doesn't want to stand up, but she is a hardwork Kelly follower. Teresa, you're an Amy for your.
I'm Dawn Renshaw, and I'm here because I love the United States.
That's right.
You introduced me, that's why I'm here. Obviously, grew up in this community and impressed with the last name of your candidate, so we're just here to hear what's happening.
Okay, so sometimes we have different people who come to these meetings who run various groups like Moms for Liberty, which is amazing. People who work on different topics that we often talk about, getting voting machines out of use altogether. Precinct delegate recruitment. So I'd love just to continue the theme of embarrassing people and see if any of those people connected with those groups or those working items have any updates they want to do. Stephanie, is there anything you want to update from Moms for Liberty? Yeah.
There's always something. I just want to say, I apologize, let me pull this up. So, Moms for Liberty is actively doing everything we can to protect our kids and our kids' freedoms. We are Branch and Hillsdale County, but we are legally just Branch County. So we've got both counties together. Currently, our president, I'm not sure if Jenna's here or not, but we're encouraging, sorry about that, and I should know better than this. Currently, we are looking at trying to get as many people to the Branch County Board of Commissioners meeting on Thursday, June 2nd, next Thursday, to let them know how they feel about the annexation of a piece of property in Quincy. If you need to know more about that, come see me or Allison, and we can go from there. But we are actively pursuing new members. So if you have any interest in Moms for Liberty and what we do, come see me.
Yeah, very good. And then Kim, Lindsay, and Betsy tapping in on your projects. Love you up here.
Okay, my name is Mary Jo Evans, and I'm a delegate for the GOP Branch County Republicans. And I just wanted to let you know that we are changing the GOP to America First.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of work there, and now we're like, we just got back from the state convention in Grand Rapids, and we had just 3 of us that had been to state convention several times. But we had all the rest were all new delegates, and we got Matt DePerno in and Christina Carvalho in, and that's what we're doing. We're fighting for our country. We're taking it back.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. When we started, I didn't have a clue what a precinct delegate was, but I learned, and not just myself, but a group of us have been recruiting for months. Last year, I believe there were 119 precinct delegate positions in Branch County, with 29 of them filled. Now, since they updated, there's 167 positions that you can have, and we have 77 of those filled. But we need 90 more. So if you can, without interrupting the meeting, I have. It's not too late. You can do it after the thing that intends to write in and get on the ballot still, and I can notarize those for you and take them to the courthouse. And if you know people, come see me. I'll tell you where I have openings, and the more people, the better.
That's right.
I've just been working on attending the commissioner meetings and investigating kind of the Dominion machines that are used here. 65 counties out of the 83 use Dominion machines in Michigan. And if you're interested in helping me in Branch County. I just recently FOIA'd a bunch of information that will be sent out to the experts to evaluate all of that, and so we can get rid of them.
That's right.
All right, we do have Jonathan take some time tonight, but I wanted to hand the mic over to any we have out here tonight. Okay, yep. Steve, I'm gonna go for a minute, and I'll pass it on over, but I'm glad you're here.
My name is Steve Meckley, and as many of you know, I'm running for state representative for the newly formed 35th district, which is now Branch, Hillsdale, and the city of Hudson. We align ourselves very, very perfectly with Jonathan and Allison. We're America First. We've been from the beginning, and quite frankly, that's not popular, in some circles, but that's okay. My opponent, who is Andrew Fink, happens to be, well, he's an incumbent. It's, again, not a popular thing to do, to run against an incumbent, but at the same time, when did the rules change?
Yeah.
When somebody's not doing their job, they need to be challenged. So that's what I'm doing. This is my wife, Adrian. If you're from the Branch County area, we're looking for, support and help. And so just see us afterwards, and we appreciate you guys for being here.
Hello, my name is Dan Dickerson. I live over around the Quincy area. I'm running for the 5th District County Commissioner seat. I first started covering these meetings a while ago because I was kind of not sure what to do. I felt frustrated because of old Whitmer, the COVID thing, some of what was going on nationally, of course, the way the election went. And so I decided I needed to get involved and do something. So I got signed up for the 5th District and the Branch County Commissioner. And so I'm running for that office now. And I don't know if I can make much difference or any difference, but I'm a constitutionalist, pro-America, and I'm going to
Anybody running for any school boards out here? No? Okay. All right, awesome. Well, guys, I'd love to introduce the next person for you. Known him a while. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you've all been petitioned to death, but I have a petition here tonight to decertify the 2020 election. If we can get enough signatures, and it only goes till the end of the week, we've only had like a month and a half, so if we get enough signatures, it's going to be a miracle. But if we can get enough signatures, it will go on the ballot in November so that the residents of Michigan can vote if they want to pull their electors for Biden back. So if you are a fan of Let's Go Brandon, come sign my petition.
And she has petitions for every county in the area, so even if you're not from Branch, she can help you out. We need to get those signatures. All right. How many signatures do y'all need? Do you know, John?
I think their goal is at least 500,000.
500,000.
I think that's a goal. I'm not.
So we all, if you believe that, should be signing it here tonight. You have an opportunity.
All things are possible.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't try, what's the point? You're obviously going to get out. And that is why I appreciate you doing what you're doing. You are going to make a difference just by being on that ballot. Thank you. All right, guys. Time to pass it over to Jonathan. Let's hear a big round of applause.
Thank you, love. I like that, Sharon. I haven't heard Let's Go Brandon in a while. Anybody still on that train? So traditionally what I've done is a little bit of news that I like to share from last meeting to this meeting, things that have happened in the world, right? Just a few, because a lot's always happening. I found out between last meeting and this meeting that there's a new political identity that we're allowed to associate with. Has anybody heard of this? Ultra MAGA? I know, right? We're watching this and my wife turned to me and said, "Oh, you can be Ultra MAGA? I didn't know you could be Ultra MAGA." So if you haven't signed up, I don't know exactly what the criteria is. What's the other news? Monkeypox is on the rise. Monkeypox.
Yeah.
So is progressive grooming of youth. I don't know why I bring them up at the same time. Related, maybe. You make the judgment. What's some other news? So Michonne wasn't able to come tonight, but I wanted her to tell some of this story about Matt Maddock got kicked out of the GOP caucus. Did anybody see this story? Yeah. It's interesting, right? So your legislators that are up there, both in the House and the Senate, they have something called caucus. Caucus means that they meet in private and they discuss what they're going to do about legislation. And then if you ask them questions, if you say, why did you do this? Why did you do that? If they decided these things in caucus, they won't tell you this, but they can't actually discuss it with you. If they go out and tell their constituents what happened in caucus, they get the boot. Does anybody think that's how our government should work? No. So Matt has more free time now, I guess. He doesn't have to go to caucus meetings. So what else? Any other big news items? Oh, I know one. There was a movie that was released. I think it was like, was it Sonic the Hedgehog 2? Or was there another big movie release that happened?
2,000 Mules.
2,000 Mules. That was the one. Yeah.
Everybody needs to check that. Watch it.
Anybody seen it?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So be very careful, right? Remember that the official report from the Michigan GOP Senate suggests that the Democrat Attorney General should investigate people who are trafficking these misinformation claims about election fraud. So if you own 2,000 mules, be careful, right?
I'm going to go to Lansing and show mine.
I know a lot of people are having these showings of it, and I said, wow, this is very bold. You know, your Republicans say you should be investigated for this stuff. That's crazy, but it's true. Does everyone realize that our own Republican senators wrote a report and said, if you're talking about these things, if you're talking about these investigations, then Dana Nessel should come and investigate you. That's the crazy world we live in.
Did Shirky say that?
Did Shirky say that?
He said there was no fraudulent election.
No, Shirky, I don't know, you have to ask him. It's hard to get straight answers sometimes. There were I will say this, there were, I think, 3 senators and one member of the House that were authors of the report. I have yet to see a single person who's in the Michigan legislature come out and disavow that report and say it's wrong for Republicans to ask the Democrat Attorney General to investigate people for looking into the 2020 election. I think I call for this all the time. I think we should ask our representatives, will you do this? Will you disavow that? That's beyond the pale in my mind. So those are some of the news items. Anybody else have big news items? Oh no, I know one more. We got to do this. Maybe Ryan will tell us some about it. So a couple days ago, we found out that we had 10 candidates running for governor in Michigan on the Republican side. And then we found out, a lot of us were like, how are you going to decide? There are 10 candidates, that's so many candidates. Apparently it's not going to be as hard to decide anymore. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing about this, but so there were 5 of them that the board of the Bureau of Elections has said they didn't get the right signatures collected, and they're not quite entirely off the ballot yet, but it looks like that's what's going to happen. They might challenge it in court. So we're down to 5. We're going to hear from one of them tonight who did it the right way, who went out and collected signatures. A lot of people in this room, I think, actually either signed or passed petitions for him. So that's pretty cool. But I do want to say about that story, something to keep in mind. I think that everybody should have done the right thing. They should have collected their signatures properly. But I also think it's crazy that when it comes time to decide whether or not someone can be on the ballot, whether or not whether or not the people should have an opportunity to vote for someone, all of a sudden our election systems in Michigan are very particular about signatures. But when it comes time to elect Joe Biden as president, we just throw the signatures out. We say anything goes, right? So that's a double standard that I don't think should exist. All right, those are the news items. I'll say a few remarks before Ryan comes up here. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Jonathan Lindsay. I'm running to be your next state senator here in the 17th district. I have a pretty basic belief system, and I'll share some of those things with you tonight. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. My family is the most important thing to me on this earth. The United States of America is the greatest nation this earth has ever known. And Joe Biden didn't get 81 million votes. So I'm going to say a few other things I believe to just continue this on. Very simple things in my mind. I believe it's wrong to conduct forced medical experiments on children. I believe it's actually good for children to be able to breathe fresh air. Actually, I think it's good for all of us to be able to breathe fresh air. I believe boys are not girls.
That's right.
I believe girls are not boys. I believe it's not up to the kindergarten teacher to decide whether a boy is a boy or a girl is a girl. I don't think math is racist. I think each person should only be able to vote one time. I could go on and on with a lot of statements like that, but the point I'm trying to make is if you think about everything I just said, even when I was growing up, all of those things were taken for granted. They're still true, but back then they were just understood as the common sense position. That is not the case anymore. We live in a... Maybe. No. Could it be this one? No, it's off. Pretty soon I'll just start shouting. So 20 years ago, none of those things I said were really controversial. I still don't think they're controversial, but we've got to be honest with ourselves that the culture war that's going on right now, all of those statements are not only being challenged, but the other side has actually advanced them far enough that they are, by many people in the same society where we live, they are accepted as falsehoods now. Boys can be girls, girls can be boys. We can conduct experiments on children. The whole list is up for debate now. And I think we have to be crystal clear about the fact that over the last several decades, we have actually, in the big picture, we have lost ground. And the reason we've lost ground is because all too often our leaders think that it's going to work if they just fight a defensive battle to maybe keep these people at arm's length. I don't believe that that's a viable solution for saving our state or saving our country. I refuse to fight a rearguard action for liberty. I believe what we need are leaders who are willing to go on offense and take back ground. So, I used to tell this story more frequently. How many people have heard me talk about Sergeant Roy Benavides? Well, good. Not a lot of people have. So, Master Sergeant Roy Benavides is a man who served in Vietnam. And in 1968, when he was serving there, one day he was at camp and they were actually conducting a sort of their approximation of a church service, and he heard a call come over the radio. And the call was that there was a group of Green Berets who were in the jungle, and they were pinned down, they were under enemy fire. And Sergeant Benavides got up from what he was doing, praying, and he ran to a helicopter that had just come back after a failed extraction attempt, and he jumped into that hospital. As a matter of fact, he tried to help one of the men out of the helicopter. It turned out that man was dead. He laid him on the ground and he took his place and he said, "Take us back into the fight." He did this so quickly, he didn't even actually take a weapon with him other than a knife, and he was carrying a medical bag. When they got to the site where the men were pinned down, the helicopter couldn't get very close to them, but it did land a few hundred yards away. And at that point, there was a decision that had to be made. The field of fire was actually too hot, and the recommendation was that they simply leave and head back to base. But Sergeant Benavides jumped out of that helicopter, and he ran into the fire. And when he did, he was almost immediately struck multiple times by enemy fire. But he ran to that team, he helped organize them, he helped get them into a defensive perimeter. That helicopter had to leave at that point. But he provided water, he got the men's spirits back up a little bit, and then he called in another helicopter to come rescue them. He pretty much single-handedly had to move all of those men into that helicopter, and along the way, he continued to get shot. When this story's done, I think he ended up with like 67 bullet wounds, shrapnel wounds, stab wounds from bayonets. But he loaded all these men into this helicopter, and then they realized that the captain of the team wasn't with the team. He was a little bit further away in the jungle. So they attempted to move the helicopter slowly towards this captain, and the only person available to provide cover fire was Sergeant Benavides. So he ran alongside this helicopter through the jungle, firing into these communists, providing cover fire, and they made it over to the captain. At that point, one of the Viet Cong struck the helicopter pilot with a round to the head, killed him, and the helicopter crashed. Almost at the exact same time, a grenade went off behind Sergeant Benavides and knocked him unconscious. When he came to, he saw a sight that was a burning helicopter, men that were strewn about. Everything looked lost again. And he got up, and he recovered all the men from that helicopter, made another defensive perimeter, and proceeded to fight for 6 more hours, calling in airstrikes, calling in support. And finally, when they were able to get another extraction attempt, he did the same thing, carried every one of those men to the helicopter, went back multiple times. On one of those trips back to the helicopter, he was ambushed in hand-to-hand combat. The report is that he had so much blood on his face at that time that he couldn't even see the enemy, but he pulled out his knife and he stabbed the man to death and continued his mission. When he finally had recovered everyone and that helicopter left, they went and dropped him back in camp, and the determination was made at that point when they took his body out of the helicopter that he was dead. They placed him in a body bag, began to zip it up, but the truth was, he was just so incapacitated that he couldn't move. The only last act of will he could summon to let people know that he wasn't dead was he spit in the face of the doctor who was placing him in that body bag. When they counted the bodies they took out of the helicopter, I think they had like half a dozen enemy soldiers. And he said, well, I just didn't want to leave anybody behind. Why do I tell you that story? That is our heritage as Americans. This nation is built by people like that who are willing to run into the fire. People who know that no matter what the cost is, that if we act, if we're willing to put ourselves at risk, we can make a difference. My question to all of you is, are you ready? Because where we are in America right now is it's not our comrades in arms that are down across the field of fire. It's Lady Liberty herself who has fallen. She's barely holding up a flag that we all love, but she's grievously wounded. And if we don't do something, it may be the end for her. So we are all sitting on that helicopter right now. And the easy thing to do is tap the side of it and tell the pilot, it's too hot. Take me back to safety. Or we can charge. But remember this, when Sergeant Benavides made that charge, he had no guarantee of what that outcome would be. In fact, if he's really honest, he would probably say the odds were pretty low that he was going to save those people. But that didn't matter. We don't know what our odds are right now. We don't know if we're going to be successful. I guarantee you that if you make that charge, you're going to take bullets for it. It's not going to be easy. Everybody who steps up in this fight right now for America is going to be attacked. And everyone is going to pay a price. But I will also promise you this. If you take that charge, and if you elect me to be your next state senator, I will be charging with you. All right, we're going to have our next guest up here soon. I'm going to tell one more quick story before that. You probably walked by the 1970 Chevelle sitting out here. Some of you already know that's my car. It's not just my car, it's my first car. I bought it when I was 15 years old, and the way I bought it was we raised cattle on this farm, raised them right down underneath this lean-to over here and down at the other end, stacked hay where I'm standing right now. I grew up doing 4-H, and one of the payments for doing, farm chores was that my brother Adam and I each got a calf that if we raised it, kept it healthy, took it to the fair, were responsible, we could sell it. The fair auction does a good job of raising some money. Aunt Risa made sure we didn't dip into our accounts. She was at the bank then. And so what we did was save enough money that I was 15, I was able to buy that car, $8,250, and then we did a little rebuild of it. The other part of this story is that my dad, when he was younger, had a 1967 Chevelle, and he came from humble beginnings. I think we all did. And the bottom line is that when he got married and started his family, he was in a situation where if he wanted to successfully start his business as an owner-operator truck driver, he needed to liquidate some things, and that car was one of them. And so he sold it. And he built a life for us. Why am I so emotional tonight? What happened? So he sold that car, and he did. And he drove that truck, 100-hour weeks for years and years to make a life for my brother and my sister, my mom and I. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. And partly because of that story, I said to myself, I'd like to hold on to my car. But then when I was in the military, I was at Fort Bragg at one point in time, and I was driving that car, and I was at a gas station, and a man approached me and literally pulled out a checkbook, and he said, "How much?" I think he was serious. But I said, "Car's not for sale." And I wanted to tell that story for two reasons. One is because I'll always be able to say, that car's, some things are not for sale. That car's one of them. My vote's another one if you make me a senator. But the other reason, I wanted to bring up the car is because, you know, we've had a few candidates for governor come through here. Good men, I think. It is a competitive field. But we're going to hear from Ryan Kelly next. And I've always said something about each candidate before they come up. And I've never come out and actually endorsed or said this is definitely who I'm voting for. But what I will say, tell me if I'm wrong, Ryan. Ryan is the only candidate for governor in the state of Michigan who has ridden in that 1970 Chevelle. Is that true? Come on up, Ryan.
Give a round of applause for Jonathan Rock and Steve Lansing. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Kelly, candidate for Michigan Governor. Amazing to be down here with you all today. Beautiful farmland around us, and this venue is incredible, isn't it? Yeah. Let's thank Jonathan's sister for all of the things that she's done here for us. 68 days.
Yeah.
68 days until the primary election. It seems like I just got started February 1st of 2021. 16 months ago, started traveling around this great state of ours. And here we are down to the last 68 days. The announcement that came this week in regard to the other gubernatorial candidates going down to 5 from 10 definitely shakes things up a little bit, and we'll see tomorrow where that vote lies, and if not, what other changes might happen there. And it's going to get very interesting from here on out. And I'll tell you that moving forward, Michigan has a decision to make. Are we sick of the status quo?
Yeah.
Are we sick of the Republicans that check the boxes and put fancy talking points on websites? Or do we want people that take action and are ready to fight for our country? So I say, over these next 68 days, we watch what people do and not what people say. And that's why I'm in it in the first place, because you see people talk and they tell you certain things, and then they do something different, or they got the special interest or their self-interest that they're looking out for. So it's time for some changes. And I tell you, what we saw happen at state convention with Matt DePerno and Christina Solano sweeping the floor, that lets you know that there's a different type of energy out there today. The establishment is scared to death of that.
Yep.
They're scared to death of it, right?
They are.
And I say, if you don't see the writing on the wall, you're going to be left behind, my friends. There's an interesting thing that happened recently. I want to share this story with you guys to start things off tonight. And the Livingston County debate that happened, I think, 2 weeks ago today, maybe even. Right after that, I got the news that at the time there was 10 governor candidates. The Mackinac Policy Conference invited 5 of those candidates to come up to Mackinac Island and debate. I thought, big deal, right? Mackinac Policy Conference, right? That's, a well-known thing, big in Michigan politics. So, I sat out for a little bit and I was thinking about some things, as, very busy schedule, as you may imagine. And when I found out that the Detroit Chamber, who's hosting that event, was requiring vaccine passports or negative COVID tests for attendees, I made the statement that if they're going to be requiring that for me, I'm not going. Not going to happen. And so I then come to find out that, well, for the governor's debate, we're not going to be requiring the governor candidates to show vaccine passports or take COVID tests. And the people that want to come to the island to attend that, they don't have to have the medical screening. So we're going to hold it outside the tent or whatever. So I looked at this and I thought, I got a decision to make here, right? So I was on my way home from Detroit one night and I started praying, right? Where's the right thing to do? Through this whole process, I always ask myself, what is the right thing to do? And I said, I made the statement that if the Detroit Chamber is not going to change the regulations for everyone and remove all the COVID restrictions, then I'm going to decline my invitation to debate. So I put together a statement and I sent it over to the Detroit Chamber. And they never responded to me, still to this day, but they did remove my name off the website as invited attendees. The only regret that I have is I didn't take before and after screenshots so I can hang it on the wall as a plaque of honor, right? Yeah. So, moving forward, I encouraged all of the governor candidates to boycott the Mackinac Policy Conference because as Republicans, as America First Republicans, we will not stand by and allow the radical left to implement their vaccine passports, their COVID restrictions. We say no is no. We show by our actions. We don't go to the Mackinac Policy Conference. That's it, guys. And I'm not going to say, well, there's special privileges for the governor candidates, because do you remember when you had to stay in your house and you weren't allowed to travel, but Gretchen Whitmer got on her plane and went down to Florida? Rules for thee and not for me. I called out the garbage that they're wanting to do up on the island, and I'll tell you what, my friends, the support behind it is amazing, and the establishment is scared to death. Scared to death. We're not going to do it.
That's right.
And Michonne got really mad at me too, and she's not here tonight. Okay. Guess that's how it goes, right? So I had the Grand Traverse GOP reach out to me, and they said, wow, Ryan, like you're our guy, the courage to do that. We want to have you invite all the governor candidates over here for a debate, because they have an event going on the same time as what's going on Mackinac Island there. And I invited all the other candidates to come there and debate me. None of them responded. So I'm the keynote speaker at the Grand Traverse GOP and the 1st District Republicans event. That's right. Moving forward, our actions speak louder than our words, my friends. We're sick of the no-action, weak Republicans that don't stand up for our country. They don't stand up for our Constitution. They want to give us lip service about what they're going to do, but they don't do it.
That's right.
And that's not what the people want anymore. That's not what I want anymore. My amazing wife Tabitha and I, we live in Allendale, Michigan. We got 6 amazing children. And we got a corrupt government in Michigan that's trying to destroy the future for my children.
That's right.
I'm standing in their way.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. It's exciting, right? It's like Jonathan said. I mean, now's the time to charge forward. What are they going to do to us?
They're trying to kill us.
They're going to get out of our way because we come in the name of the Lord and we're on God's side. We are unapologetic about our conservative American values. Super simple stuff, right?
That's right.
And so that's exactly why I'm here with you guys today. Because I'm unapologetically American. I see the trouble that's happening in our state, in our country. Antifa Joe is talking about signing over our medical sovereignty to the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
It's not going to go over well, Antifa Joe. I'm sorry. Not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that one of the keys moving forward is having strong governors in the states. Because the 10th Amendment tells the states that they have the rights that are not granted to the federal government. The federal government doesn't have that many rights, right? The people have all of the rights. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, Ryan, I never hear you talking about giving the power back to the people. Why is that? I said, because the people already have the power.
That's right.
The government has zero authority to give the power back to the people because the government doesn't have the authority in the first place.
That's right.
We just need to understand that. We need to stand strongly and boldly for our God-given rights, not our Gretchen-given rights, and they're not our government-given privileges. So in 2020, I took a lot of big, bold actions, pushing back against Gretchen and Whitmer. Some of you guys know that the April 30th, 2020 rally that happened at the Capitol where people went inside with guns and the Democrats' heads exploded and they were like, oh my gosh, right? That's a rally that I hosted and I planned that up there at the Capitol. So that and amongst many other things that I've done throughout 2020, putting my money where my mouth is. Ron DeSantis called me in 2020. He's like, Ryan, I love what you got going on. How do you think we should handle things? So I gave him this play-by-play of what he should do down in Florida. I'm just kidding, that didn't happen. But if it did, if he would have called me, I would have told him to handle things exactly the way that he's handling. That's right. Because he is standing up strong for conservative values, attracting people to that state. But there's a component that comes out of that story that we must understand. Is that, yes, conservative values will attract people to them. Yes, standing for freedom and liberty will attract people to you. But the thing is that we can't all flee and go somewhere else. We must stand and fight. That's right. Because the evil and the corruption will continue to follow us around everywhere that we go. Right. We must stand strong right now and say we are not playing this game that the radical left want to destroy Michigan, destroy America, and we take back our state and our country. Exciting times, guys. Exciting times to be alive, right? And it's also the time to be alive where if you were to ask the Democratic Party, what's a woman? They're like, I don't know. It's ridiculous times. And that lets us know that the left has gone so far off the rocker. If we are just courageous enough to call them out on all of their BS, we will win. We will win in 2022. We will win in 2024. Look at the pro-life issue that's going on right now. Republicans in the past were able to check the boxes and tell you that they're pro-life, right? Yeah, pro-life. We'll always fight for the life of the unborn. But now it looks like Roe versus Wade might be overturned, right? Yeah. It's probably going to happen, right? God's working in some amazing ways right now. So now Republicans don't get to check the boxes anymore. They get to tell us what they're going to do and whether or not they're going to fight for us. Whether or not they're going to fight for the lives of the unborn. Whether or not they're going to be able to stand up to the radical left who's going to show up at your house at weird times of night, call you all sorts of names, tell you they need to protect the right to abortion. There is no right to take another person's life. Throughout 2020, the left told us it was all about science and data. You remember that? Yeah. Science and data, right? So we need to call out the left and say, no denying science, my friends. When does a new life start? New life, new body, brand new strand of DNA starts at conception. Don't deny the science, Gretchen Whitmer. That's right. Don't deny the science. In Michigan, we need to have a culture that respects life. We need to have a legislature, an attorney general, and a governor that is going to be willing to uphold the 1931 law here in the state of Michigan and say, we will not tolerate abortions in the state of Michigan and let the left get mad about it. Call them science deniers and tell them they need to own their decisions. Tell us you want to just kill babies. Just come out and tell us. If you're not bold enough to come out and tell us what it is, you don't deserve to do it in the first place. Throw it back in their faces, my friends. That's how conservatives are going to win. I'll tell you what, the Democrats are unapologetic about their positions. They will fight tooth and nail for everything that's wrong with this country. And conservatives need to stand up and do the exact same thing and put it right back in their faces. I'll tell you what, my friends, that's exactly what you can expect from candidate Kelly. And you're seeing it from my actions. That's exactly what you're going to expect from Governor Kelly because the establishment is scared to death. They can't control me. Me getting there without their help means I don't need their help to bring my 100-day plan to life. That's right. Exciting times. Day number 1 with Governor Kelly. You guys can find my 100-day plan in the back. Pandemic is over in Michigan. We're not playing that game no more. And I don't care if it's COVID-19. I don't care if it's monkeypox. That's right. I don't care if it's giraffe pox or dog pox. I'll tell you what's plaguing our country, though, is donkey pox. That's right. That's what's plaguing our country right there. Is the donkey pox. So day number 1 with Governor Kelly, the pandemic is over. We're canceling any emergency orders. There's going to be no mandates related to any of these ridiculous whatever pox or pandemic they have. We allow doctors to prescribe effective treatments that will be able to help their patients without the government getting in the way. And my friends, with Governor Kelly, there will be no vaccine mandates, not in our state, not on my watch. Also, day number 1 with Governor Kelly, we terminate the Dominion, the ES&S, and the HART electronic voting machine contracts. We work with somebody amazing, Christina Caramo, so that we can get real election integrity. And hopefully we can, a lot of people ask me like, Ryan, you know, we have a rhino legislature. You know, how are you going to get them to act? How are you going to get them to take action? Well, we get people like Jonathan Lindsay in there first and foremost. We get good America first legislators in there, right? But I'll tell you what we haven't had in the state of Michigan for decades, not in my entire lifetime, right? We haven't had a strong conservative driving a conservative agenda that'll be willing to call out the left or the fake rhino Republicans that don't want to bring constitutional carry to Michigan. They don't want to put things in place to get rid of critical race theory, diversity, equity, inclusion. They don't want to bring true election integrity measures. We call them out. We make them look foolish. And we make them join on to our movement so that we can actually change our state. That's what we need in the governor's seat. That's what I'm going to bring. We will motivate them to get moving in a conservative direction. Day number 1 with Governor Kelly, our education system is a mess. You guys with me on that, right? Yeah. Say it with me, it's a mess. It's a mess. And we know that Gretchen Whitmer is pushing a social justice agenda. She's came out multiple times. The school system is a great place to push social justice. Yeah. I have this crazy idea, guys. Bear with me. Our kids need to be taught academics in schools. Crazy idea, I know. Maybe I'm old school, right? Maybe I'm old school. Day number 1 with Governor Kelly, I will sign an executive directive eliminating all of the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion positions across our entire state government. They are unconstitutional, they are discriminatory, they violate our laws, and we will remove all of those positions, and then I'll work with the legislature to bring legislation in place so that we can seal that into our MCLs so that the next governor can't just erase the executive directive.
Put God back in the country.
What's that?
And put God back in our
Absolutely, for sure, absolutely. Academics, skilled trades, American constitutional civics, respecting all of the things that will bring freedom and prosperity, the ability for our students to become the very best version of themselves. We get rid of critical race theory, we get rid of social, emotional learning. Here's another thing that's plaguing our state, that's federal dollars. Yeah. Over half of our budget is made up of dollars from Antifa Joe and his communist buddies. Yeah. So here's what we need to do. First of all, we look at our Department of Education. There's 2 components to our public schools. The school aid fund, which is mostly funded by state dollars. The Department of Education, which pulls all the strings, which is funded by the federal government to the tune of 94%. Governor Kelly will not sign a budget in the state of Michigan that has any money that funds the Department of Education. We take control of our Department of Education, and then we tell the federal government to go pound sand with their federal Department of Education and say, you get no play in the state of Michigan. Zero play. I tell you guys, these are the big bold things that we need to do and say right here. And we know that our Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, the federal government doesn't have that authority. We just need to be bold enough to call it out on them. That's it. And so, without any federal dollars, we can get rid of Common Core, something else that's plaguing our Department of Education and our student future. We get rid of social justice, right? I'll tell you what, my friends, you know, Gretchen Whitmer's going to paint it to be these radical ideas, right? Yeah. Brian Kelly, this radical, this is what they're going to, this is the narrative they're going to play, right? I think it was pretty radical and extreme to put COVID-19 positive patients in nursing homes that results in thousands of deaths. It's calling me crazy, right? But here's the thing, is that they're going to say all of these different, you know, radical ideas and, you know, these things that will destroy our future, right? We have to be bold and stand up to this. And number 2, that lets you know that there is no longer any middle ground.
That's right.
Okay? So any candidates that want to tell you, well, we're going to play the middle, or we're going to try to win the middle vote, or, you know, we're going to try to play our cards so we can win both sides. There's no winning both sides. You either want social justice in school, or you don't. You either want masks on children in our schools, you want vaccine passports, or you don't. Pick a side. That's it. And so I'm so sick of the weak Republicans that are always talking about, well, we have to play the middle. Trump never played the middle. He won by a landslide. And he won in 2020 as well because Antifa Joe did not get 81 million votes, my friends. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. And just like Jonathan said, the 2,000 mules, I'll tell you what, even... It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum that you fall on. If you can't watch that, not even knowing what it is, if you can't watch that and say, something suspicious is happening there, right? Yeah. Then you're in on the steal. But that's what we know that the left wants. They want our election systems to continue to be corrupted. They want us to continue to call anyone that goes against their agenda, to push globalism, to be called a conspiracy theorist, a domestic terrorist, right? If you show up at school boards, moms, dads, you know, they don't like that. The DOJ says you're a terrorist. I say we're freedom-loving Americans that are going to take back our country. Unapologetically, my friends. They don't know what to do with me, right? They're like, who's this guy? Who's this Ryan Kelly guy, right? It's exciting, my friends. It's very, very exciting. We have rolling blackouts coming because Gretchen Whitmer's Green New Deal. Did you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
You can expect your air conditioner not to work this summer, right?
We'll go down
Because we need industrial wind turbines to be green energy based, right?
Yeah.
Here's what we need for our future. Governor Kelly will sign for us to become an agreement state, and we will lay the foundation for a nuclear energy program here in the state of Michigan. We see manufacturing businesses continuing to leave our state. One of the reasons that Ford left is because our energy prices are so high.
Yeah.
Having cheap, affordable, clean, and reliable energy in the state of Michigan is so important that these radical leftists want to continue to push out all of the things that actually provide the energy sources that we need. They want to shut down Line 5. They want to stop drilling oil. We need all of those components, except for industrial wind turbines. I don't think that those have really any value at all, right? I'm just saying. Plus, I think it's super ironic that they take petroleum in order to make them, in order for them to operate as well. I'm just saying, right? You know? But that is the way that we're going to be able to provide clean, effective, and cheap energy for the future. Keeping Line 5 open, building the tunnel to go underneath the straits so that we can get those pipes off the bottom of the straits. That needs to happen. It needs to happen here in the state of Michigan. And we need to look at drilling more Michigan-based oil so that we can, like, let's start off by saying, reduce the diesel fuel costs for farmers. Novel idea, right? That's hurting farmers so much. Do we have any farmers in the room here today? Diesel fuel costs hit me at all? Gosh. Truckers, how's them food prices doing for you? Right? Inflation Whitmer, inflation Biden, right? And they don't want to care about giving you any relief at the pump, right? Gretchen Whitmer said the other day, we just found $3 billion. We're going to give $240 million to tutor all these kids. We're going to give everybody $500. You just found $3 billion?
Yeah.
No, it's money that they taxed from us, right? They didn't want to give us any relief from all this inflation everywhere. It's tax revenue that they're bringing in. They're stealing the money from us in the first place with all the inflation. And then second of all, they're giving it back, pretending they're doing us a favor.
Yeah, they think we're really stupid.
The government's #1 job is to protect our rights. And they're failing at that. And we need to identify, find, and get behind good candidates that want to respect our Constitution, state and federally. Get behind candidates that are willing to shrink the government back down to the size that they belong.
That's right.
And you see it happening all over the state, guys. And I'll tell you, we got the establishment running scared.
Yeah, we do.
That is very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
The Second Amendment, not the CPL laws, having to give permission to carry.
No way.
I want to see constitutional carry come to the state of Michigan. I want to see us removing our CPL laws. I want us to get rid of our pistol registration, and we need to oppose any red flag laws here in the state of Michigan. We have to remember that with the Second Amendment in the federal Constitution here in the state of Michigan, we have Article 1, Section 6 of the Michigan Constitution, saying that you have the right to keep and bear arms in the defense of yourself and of the state. It's so important that we uphold our Michigan Constitution just the same. We know, I got some more breaking news for you guys. Anybody want to hear some breaking news?
Yeah.
All right, you guys are going to be the first to hear it today. Yesterday and today, this happened on both days, tens of millions of law-abiding gun owners didn't hurt anyone with firearms.
That's right.
Although, there's more breaking news, there's a whole bunch of criminals that violated laws and injured people with firearms, and it was already against the law. We need to ask the left, what laws do you expect to put on firearms where the criminals are going to follow? Put the onus on them. Tell us which laws you put in place that criminals are going to follow. Because, newsflash, criminals don't follow laws.
Exactly.
Time to take the fight to the Democrats, my friends. It's time to take the fight to the Democrats.
That's right.
I'm ready to do it as your next governor. On stage with Gretchen Whitmer, making sure that we in 2023 take our state back, not for just a Republican, but for an America First conservative Republican that is ready to say, we are not playing the radical left's game anymore, and we're not going to let the federal government control our state. And we're sure as not going to let the World Health Organization control our state.
That's right.
Not happening. I'm so humbled by the number of volunteers that have stepped up, and as far as we've got in our campaign. If you like what you've heard here today, if you've been following me and you want to be involved, you know, Jonathan's got people out knocking doors. We have other good candidates that are out knocking doors, spreading the word. Please take some of our literature tonight and be part of this whole America First movement that we have happening here in Michigan. And just continue to spread the word, right? Get the word out there, because we have 68 days, my friends. So in 68 days from now, I want you to do me a very big favor. I want you to go to the polls and bring some friends with you. And I want you to vote for Ryan Kelly as Michigan's next governor. Thank you guys very much. God bless you all. Right. We want to take some questions. You guys have any questions that I can answer? Maybe something I didn't cover or something you really want to know? How do I plan to fund? Yep. So you're talking about the Department of Education component that I talked about? So that's the two components that I talked about. So the school aid fund is how we fund the schools. The Department of Education is where all the rules are made. So the Department of Education is roughly $1.9 billion. $1.7 billion of that is the federal government's money. So the school aid fund, Gretchen Whitmer just now proposed $18.4 billion. And that continues to rise every single year. And most of that money comes from state dollars. And that's what funds all the stuff, the teacher salaries, so on and so forth, and everything else with the schools. What's that? Yeah, the teachers union is a big problem, for sure. And so a lot of that money is being eaten up by administration. It's not going to the students. So we ask ourselves the question, why does enrollment continue to go down? More and more people are pulling their kids out of the public schools, right? But spending continues to go up and up, and the education scores of our students continue to go down. So we're spending more, we have less students there, and they're losing their intelligence level.
Yeah, exactly.
So we ask how we're going to fund the schools. I say first and foremost, we figure out where we're spending all this money foolishly, number one, so that we can allocate the funds to the things that will provide the best education for our students.
That's right.
That's first and foremost. Out of that $16 billion that we're spending right now, we absolutely have $1.7 billion that would make up the difference in the Department of Education that's being spent on things that are unnecessary. So we absolutely have a lot of things to clean up first and foremost. Exactly. One of the things that I'd like to do is put a halt on any new building projects. Do you notice that every school's got some brand new gymnasium or some
Yeah,
Olympic-sized
yeah,
football stadium, right? And those all just continue to not only add more expenses that we have to continue to pay for every year, they're not providing education to the students.
That's right.
So there's a lot of different things that are happening right now that need to be reallocated, number one, first and foremost. We have third graders that still don't know how to read.
That's right.
So why is teachers need to be paid more? I'd like to see that money go to paying the teachers better. We have teachers that are leaving schools because I don't want to learn the social emotional nonsense. I don't want to go through racial bias training. I want to teach math, right?
That's right.
And so they're leaving the schools. There's teachers that are not coming into the schools because they don't want to deal with all that stuff. Well, now that we see you got your bachelor's degree in algebra, we want you to come over here now and learn all about racial bias training so that you can teach the kids how to socially, emotionally cope with people of different skin color. Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong answer.
Exactly.
So we have a lot of money that's being spent on those types of programs. Those will all disappear with Governor Kelly. Reallocate those funds properly, and then we can shrink a lot of things in the Department of Education as well, on the Department of Education side, the administrative side, and getting rid of a lot of that DEI stuff will be important. And we can always do reorganization of the Department of Education.
Exactly.
There's a lot of waste there, and that's one thing that the governor can do is reorganization orders. Constitutionally, in Section 5 of the Michigan Constitution, the governor can reorganize the executive branch however they want to.
That's right.
Because that is national organization.
What is that? It's me. Oh, okay, hold it.
So we got one question on teachers union. What was yours, Mary Jo?
I said,
You meant to shout.
okay, the teachers union, I was in school, I'm 77, and when I was in school in the 50s, we had teachers that were teaching because they liked to teach the children. They weren't in there to join a teachers union or to get money from the federal government or the state. They did it because they loved the children, they were going to teach us. I learned how to read and write. We need to, well, I agree with you, we need to redo our education system. Because what we're doing right now, these teachers unions and all these other, they're just getting money in their pocket. They go on strike and they do that, and they don't give a rat's you know what about the children.
She's right. Give her a round of applause. She's right. So, to answer your question. So, first and foremost, I'm not in bed with the teachers unions, like what Whitmer is, right? And what some of our previous governors are, right? I don't care to be their friend, honestly, right? We're a right-to-work state, number one. And number two, I will boldly and unapologetically confront them and say, are you doing the right thing for the students? Are you doing the right thing for the teachers? Or are you doing the right things for your selfish purposes?
That's right.
And we can expose all of that stuff, right? It's going to be a battle, but we either take the battle head on, like Jonathan said, and we charge straight into it, or we can just blend in with the corruption.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it's going to be a battle. They're going to want to come and fight. They're going to want to say all this other stuff. Well, maybe we can organize everything, and we can just start giving credits to the parents to spend the money wherever they want to, right? We take a bold fight right to them, unapologetically. I'm sick of that nonsense that we got going on in our schools and everything. If you want to do the right thing, unions are good for certain aspects. If you're bullying people with unions, and if you're giving people free passes with unions, that's not what they're intended for. I'll take that battle head on. Go ahead.
What about our universities and our community colleges?
Same thing.
You know, I'm not really familiar with where they get their funding. I know there's a lot of alumni, but.
They get it from you, right?
Yeah.
That for indoctrination.
It is.
All of my daughters have experienced
All the state
indoctrination
colleges.
when they're paying. Yeah.
So,
You fail if you do not agree with their professor. So how is this to be stopped?
right. So constitutionally, first of all, the Michigan Constitution says that the state legislature has to fund those colleges, those 7 colleges, right? The big ones. But it doesn't put a number on it, right? I got 25 cents, right? Think that'll do them a solid?
Yeah.
Right? The number's not there. So we spend $2 billion a year right now in our budget. That continues to rise. We give $375 million just to the University of Michigan alone.
Is that not
They're-
crazy? What their alumni pay?
It's absolutely crazy. They have endowment funds bigger than what we spend on most of our departments for the entire state budget, right?
Exactly.
They have money stacked on top of money stacked on top of money. That needs to substantially be reduced. And first and foremost, if they don't want to get in line with upholding the Constitution, if they're taking any state dollars, we can go to that corner. I'd be happy to do that. Because the governor, at the end of the day, the budget doesn't go through until the governor signs the budget.
I think it needs to be done, because I truly believe this is where
All of the stuff from the schools, right?
came from.
Absolutely. And so again, I come back to the fact that, you know how much money I've taken from all of them? $0. You know how much I owe them? 0. You know how much I owe all of the people that want to see this change in the state that we're talking about? I owe them everything, right? So how I get there is just as important as what I do there. And that's what I'm talking to you guys about tonight, right? The path that we go to get there. Gretchen Whitmer is as corrupt as it comes.
They all are.
Yeah.
Mike Shirkey is as corrupt as they come.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
These other legislators that are do-nothing legislators, like you want to talk to people, oh, we're sending election integrity bills over to Whitmer's desk, but she doesn't want to sign them. She's not going to sign them, but we're fighting for election integrity. Decertify the 2020 election then. Show me you mean it. Show me you mean it. And decertify. So what I'm getting at is how I get there is important, right? Because these politicians, they want to work their way up, and they want to get in, all these relationships with these big donors and these big PACs, and they funnel them money, and then when they get there, they owe favors, and they keep perpetuating the same corruption, right? And you see all these buildings in the cities, right? That University of Michigan, a health facility, they're all over Grand Rapids or whatnot. Where do you think that money's coming from, right? And there is a lot of good things that can come from these research institutes, and there's certain things where there might be good applicable purposes. But that $2 billion that we spend there needs to be chopped down way more than in half. And if they don't want to respect the Constitution, the free speech on campus, if they want to be pushing these liberal indoctrination ideologies, they don't need the taxpayers' money. We're not going to fund that, and we're not going to fund Planned Parenthood. So I got to be very careful how I get there, right? And so if I remain true to myself, if I put in the work, I put in the energy, and all of a sudden, just like surprising them, getting on the ballot, like how did Ryan Kelly get on the ballot? The guy doesn't have all the money in the world, right? I've raised a few $100,000, right? And I'm shocking them all. How's this guy polling? How's this guy get invited up to Mackinac? How does he get on the ballot, right? Hard work, enthusiastic supporters, people that want to see some real change, and enough courage to charge into the fight. That's it, and God's with me, right? He guides the path, I do the work, right? I'm here to shovel all the manures, all those guides me in the right direction. So that's what I keep my focus on, the importance of how I get there, right? Because then we can make these changes, and people can be mad, but go be mad over there. We're going to be happy over here, right? We got another question or two. Go ahead.
One thing new to Michigan is the marijuana stores and road places and stuff like that. Those have always been county and city approval. Is there anything that you can do to keep that money in counties where they reside? Like not send it to Detroit, because I know there's this fine line between federal and state with marijuana laws, like in Colorado. But if they're making money and we allow them to take over counties, can they give that to our roads in our area, our roads, our schools?
I think that's how it's supposed to be. I think that's, but see, the thing is like all the money that gets collected for taxes, it gets thrown into general purpose, general fund, and then it gets, divvied out this way. And so I think that to go back to like allocation of funds, we're way off base on it, right? General purpose, general fund. I think we need to look at the purposes that those taxes were there and allocating them to the lottery money going specifically just to the schools, right? The tax that we pay at the pump going specifically just to fix the roads versus general purpose, general fund. And I'm not super familiar with exactly how all of those laws state, but that would make sense, that if you have in your county what you got going on there, revenues that are created from that would stay in those counties. But a lot of it goes to general purpose, general fund, and then there's a lot of corruption that happens, and then they funnel it all over into the Detroit area to fix the roads, and then the roads never got fixed, and somebody got rich, and then everybody's still bumping around everywhere in potholes. So I'll look more into that so I can understand that, but I mean, I do think that that's how it's supposed to be, but that's not how our government's operating right now, right? They're sweeping us right underneath the rug. They're taking all the money and throwing it into a big piggy bank and then divvying it out all over the place. Go ahead.
Did you all know that Joe Biden's got an open border on our southern border? If you become our governor, what are you going to do to protect Michigan from all the illegal immigrants coming here? And it's sucking up all of our school assets, all of our taxes. What can you do to keep them in Indiana, or whatever you want to say?
To DC. Send it to the swamp.
So I like, I like the DeSantis idea. He was going to send them to Delaware and send them to Joe's house. And I like Abbott's idea. We're going to send them all to Washington D.C. But I say we send them all back to their country where they came from, right? We have to deport them out of our country, and I think that's the answer. And so I'm against illegal immigration 100%. We have struggling veterans. We can deport them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you look at Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, it's the federal government's job and duty to protect our borders from invasion, right?
Yep.
And they're not doing that. And so we need governors that will step up and say, if you're not going to do your job, point that out, then we'll do it for you, right? And so we need to deport them out of the country.
That's right.
Get them.
Would you be opposed to deploying and allocating any of our National Guard to go to the southern border?
I would absolutely be in support of that, absolutely. Right? If Abbott wanted to do that, I know Kristi Nolan has talked about doing that. We start to take things into our own hands, and we start creating the narrative amongst the governors and the people around the state, and start pointing out what the federal government is not doing. And I understand there's a lot of components to all of this stuff that we're doing, right? But I think that that's a big part of the answer, is having some strong governors that are willing to do some of the things like that you're talking about. If you're not going to protect the border, we're going to protect the border. And I know the media is not on our side. I mean, we have a big battle that we have going on here. But that's zero excuse to not put in full 100% effort towards all of it. So we deport them. We don't allocate any of our resources to them. And we put Michigan citizens first. We put our veterans first. We put our struggling business owners first. Right? We find ways to cut taxes so that people are going to be able to have more of their money in their pocket, not more money back in their pocket, more money in their pocket in the first place.
Exactly.
And I'm a big, I know we have a lot of talk about, state income tax, right? Oh, we should remove the state income tax. I say we need to look at removing property taxes.
Yeah.
And here's why I say that. Here's why I say that. Is because property taxes, they rise with an inflation of the market without any other factor related to the person that owns the property. So we have a lot of elderly folks that are being booted out of their houses because they're on a fixed income and they're not able to keep up with the rising property taxes, right? It's not tied to the prosperity of any people, right? It just continues to rise. They continue to put millages on it. They continue to raise the property taxes for short periods of times, and they never, ever go back down, right? If we look at the state income tax, which I don't like that either, right? The less tax, the better. But the state income tax is directly tied to the prosperity of the people.
Exactly.
The better the people does, the more money that'll come into the government. It's a direct action step for the government to say, well, what do we have to do to make it so that everybody out there makes the most amount of money possible so that we can fund our programs? More money in the people's pocket, more money to fund the programs for the government. Otherwise, they just take it from in property taxes. People are losing their houses, they can't keep up. It's more inflation, it's more money out of your pocket. So we need to look in the state of Michigan at reducing property taxes, I believe, and or if we can eliminate them, imagine what that would do to encourage people to have families here, encourage people to move their businesses here, to create a future in the state of Michigan. They're going to spend their money here. They're not going to run off to another state where there's less taxes and more opportunities for them. So that's my viewpoint on it. Go ahead. I can keep talking all night, guys.
Will you stick around and talk to folks?
Absolutely.
Okay, Ryan's going to stick around and talk to folks. Are we allowed to be on stage together? Okay.
Of course we are, Senator.
We're going to do a couple things that I want to do that are more mechanical to help out with the campaigns. Some folks are going to walk through and hand out yard signs for Steve, for Ryan, for myself. And those who want to participate, what we're going to do is have the crowd turn around and take some pictures. And so if you're interested in that, it's a good crowd, it's a good shot here, and we'll do it for each candidate that has yard signs here. We'll just hand all three of them out, and people can just cycle through them, and we'll, but while they hand those out, I have a question for you. Is there going to be another opportunity anytime in the near future for the folks of Branch County to connect with you? Possibly in Athens.
Possibly on June 7th, or what day is it? June 7th?
7th, right?
June 7th, yeah, June 7th in Athens. We're going to be having a meet and greet fundraiser. Is that my microphone now? Up or dying? Testing.
Okay, there it is.
Hello. No, wait. Testing. Maybe, I don't know, that's good. Is it still making the noise? Yeah, so June 7th, where is, what's the address, Mom?
Everybody knows the Stone Barn.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Stone Barn, there we go.
Yeah.
What time?
Flyers in the back.
Oh, there's flyers in the back.
Yeah.
So June 7th, Stone Barn, grab one of the flyers in the back, meet and greet fundraiser. There's other people that you would like to have come meet me if you want to come back and talk with me again. Plan on coming out there. I'd love to see you all again. Bring all your friends. Bring all your America First friends. Thanks, Jonathan.